And good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the February 4th edition of the Makers and Movers podcast. I'm your host, Todd. How are you doing today, folks? It's cold. It's deceptively cold outside because it is bright and sunny and it is cold. We were sitting at like wind chill at like zero. It was just not nice. It's cold. It's cold, it's cold, it's cold. Now, if it's your first time here, a long time here, let's go over some stuff. First up, what's today's show about? Today's show, we're going to talk about you not being annoying, and you're offering a solution. And so we're going to try and talk about reframing our outreach as help, not begging for sales. So there's that. I need to know who you are, where you're from, what's in your cup, and what the weather is like in your area. And then your five things. What are five things that you are going to accomplish today? I will say today is a wacky dacky day because kids get out early from school at like 11. So we've got this that goes for a half hour. Then we've got a little break to get some stuff done. And then we've got an hour call. As soon as that's done, go get kids. And then start on the rest of the workday because it's going to be a wild, wild day. We had a great time last night, Tuesday with Todd. If you missed it, make sure to tune in, go back and watch the replay. We did a love with a scattered heart. That was fun. Showed off a couple different stones. And like going forward, it was brought up last night. Hey, when are you going to have some fun and do some ball drops again? And I think we're going to set that up for 2 weeks. I think next week we might, because I said something about bling anything, and that might, like things in the pipeline. Somebody asked about a ombre style design, so I think we got that in the works. That could possibly be next week, or bling anything decals could be next week, and then we've got ball drops in 2 weeks, so we'll push for that. We'll give away a cameo. You'll want to make sure to tune in. I will get that set up so everybody can be on point for that one. As far as our five things, like, we've got a lot to do. Orders, pickup. I got to remember to pick up kids because it's the one Wednesday a month where they're out super early. But we've got that. We've got training this afternoon on things. We've got meetings for new vinyl, and then we've got pack and pull orders, and then our classes. So we've got a busy day here. Kevin, good morning to you. When is spring arriving, man? At least 6 weeks, right? That rat yesterday said 6 weeks, so that's what we're going with. We've got 6 more weeks of winter, so at least then we've got 35 days, 34 days until we change the clocks, so that gets us closer to it. Renee, 22 with 15. Yeah, why are you so much warmer than me? Like 15 degrees is huge. That's the difference between like 80 and 95. It's cold here. Water in the bottle, tea in the mug. Make coffee in the cup. Coffee in the cup. Now, if this is a 30-ounce tumbler and it's filled with coffee, is that 1 cup or 2 cups or 3 cups or 4 cups? How many cups of coffee is that in there? I just consider it one because it's just one vessel. Am I wrong in that? I'd rather have gray and icky and being 15 degrees warmer than sunny and deceptively cold because it just did not feel good. Jeff, good morning. 18 feels like 8 there in Northern Kentucky. Diet Coke in the cup. Five things: 3D print, vinyl print, design decals, change damper, UV, clean. Love it, love it, love it. Morning, Renee from Jeff. Morning, Jeff, back from Renee. Barb, good morning. North Central Minnesota, checking in. Where it's 15 degrees. Hot chi latte tea in the cup. Five things: 3D print, DTF printing, Wilcom ES 2026 training, rhinestone layout, invoicing. Barb's got a busy day there in front of her. And hi, Renee and Jeff from Barb. And morning, Barb from Jeff and Renee. Spring cannot come fast enough. GWWK, thank you for becoming a member today. Thank you very much for becoming a member and joining us. For those that don't know, there should be, you know what? Do I have the link handy for it? Let me see. The next free wizard training is going to be tomorrow. I'm going to put that in here so you can sign up for the webinar and get that information and have it good to go. Post that last night. Make sure that you have it because you got to sign up for the webinar to be getting access to it. Let's see, 1 cup. That's what I'm down with, right? 1 cup. That's just 1 cup, one vessel, 1 cup. I just had one drink, officer. A little under four. A little under four? Come on, there's not four in here. There's only one. There's only one. Four is outrageous. That's I don't even know. That's something. It's not true. Morning, Pasha from Renee. So I had some other alerts going off, and I'm seeing what those ones were. If there's anything pressing I need to see or do before we go. All right. Let's see. There's that stuff. We're good to go over there. Perfect. All stuff can be answered afterwards. Okay. Let me pull up my notes here. And what do you say we get right into it? I was going to show off the stuff from last night, but I think Corey has the one on, and then the other one Krista has for there. So I'll make sure to get pictures and post those up for you. Okay. Take a breath, grab your coffee, sit back, enjoy, answer your questions, ask your questions as we get into this. There is a reason that outreach does feel heavier for a lot of at-home apparel decorators than it should, right? And it's not because you don't want to work. It's not because you don't believe in your product. You know, I feel it's because outreach gets tangled up with guilt somewhere along the way. You tell yourself that you don't want to bother people. You tell yourself you don't want to be annoying. And you tell yourself that you don't want to reach out because you don't want to sound desperate or salesy. So what do? Nothing. You just sit back and wait. And then, waiting feels responsible. But it does quietly create space for things to go wrong, without you. Right? What does that mean? Well, orders get rushed, deadlines can get missed. People choose bad options because the good ones you stayed silent. So we're gonna in this episode we're gonna try and break down. We're gonna try and break that pattern because if what you offer actually solves a problem, then silent is not polite. It's invisible. Okay. So number one, silence is almost always never rejection. It's just delay. And that delay is where makers lose sales at. Now, I feel like this is where, a lot of at-home apparel decorators mess up, and it's costing them real money. When somebody doesn't respond, you just assume that they're not interested. You know, we can emotionally, just shut down, shut the door, and we can tell ourselves, a story in our head that sounds really mature and really respectful, but it's actually fear in disguise. I don't want to bother them. If they wanted it, they'd reply. I already sent them the info. That story feels polite, but it is totally 100% wrong. And it is especially wrong for the kind of customers that you work with, because your customers, they're not sitting at a desk waiting to place a shirt order, right? What are they doing? Well, they're coaching juggling practice. They're coaching their parents that have other things going on. They have jobs that they're doing. They've got so much other things going on. They're PTO volunteers, just trying to get three other people to help them out with stuff to be able to answer emails. They're small business owners who, opened your messages. They said, oh, I'll deal with this later. And then they got pulled into something else for the next 2 weeks. Silence isn't rejection, it's distraction. And when you don't follow up, you don't get credit for being respectful. You just disappear. And I feel like here's the part that a lot of us don't want to hear, but we really need to hear. When you do not follow up, the customer doesn't, just sit there thinking, wow, that was super considerate of them not to follow back up with me. They honestly forgot you existed. And when the deadline suddenly becomes real, uniforms, spirit wear, an event, a fundraiser, they just freak out and they grab whoever is visible in that exact moment. Might not be the best option, might not be the option that they liked, but that's the option that showed up to them. And that's where loss happens. Not because you were too expensive, not because they didn't like your work, but because you were not present when urgency hit. That's not a personality flaw. That's a systems flaw. You know, Follow up is not pressure, it's relief. It removes that burden of remembering things. It gives people a next step when their brain is overloaded. And when you do it calmly, follow up feels like it is a responsibility, not selling. So some examples of this, a PTO mom opens your reply in the car line and forgets to forward it. Oh, how many times have we done it? 2 weeks later, deadline hits and panic sets in. Your follow up saves her from stressing over something they don't need to stress out about. Another example is a coach asks for pricing and then goes silent. Then post in a Facebook group when uniforms suddenly matter. You weren't rejected, you were just forgotten. So for this, stop deciding what silence means emotionally and decide what it means operationally. And build a follow up rhythm that assumes people are busy, not rejecting you. All right. Number two, customers don't remember what you do. They remember the last thing that they saw. Hey, this is another place that we quietly lose work without realizing it. You assume that your customers remember everything that you offer. You know, you live inside your business every day. They don't. They remember fragments. They remember that one order, that one post, that one interaction. Whatever happened last becomes your entire identity in their head. If the last thing that they remember is a single custom shirt, well, then that's all you do in their mind. Not because they're careless, but because us as humans, we like to simplify things. And when people simplify things, anything you didn't restate, it's like the Men in Black flasher, just gets erased. Right? So, excuse me, when you don't repeat, what you offer, customers don't think I should ask if they do more. They just assume that you don't. They move on quietly without telling you why, and you never realize that you were eliminated from the conversation. Now, this hits at home for apparel decorators, especially hard because your business evolves. You add bulk orders, you add online stores, you improve turnaround times, you add new products, you make things easier. But customers only know what you say out loud, repeatedly, and without apology. So repeating your offer is not annoying. Confusion is annoying. We've been doing this 20 years. We've been doing it full time for 8. And we still have people, on our friends list that says, hey, who can make me shirts? I'm not screaming loud enough for it. That was the thing when there t-shirt tied to one group of people and the other people like, oh, I didn't know you did that. So, some other examples, a business owner ordered one batch of shirts from someone 2 years ago and reordered someone else, this time because they only assumed that that was as big as they could go, right? A school contract didn't know that, somebody handled spiritware stores because mention it once during football season, never again. So what do we got to do? Well, we need to pick one service, product, something that you want to be known for, and explain it again this week like no one has ever heard it before. And you need to do that damn near daily. Reframe that, redo it, do it something here so people know who you are and what you do. All right, number 3, you know, outreach. Outreach can feel gross when you make it about you instead of the problem. All right, I feel that outreach really does feel awkward when it starts with you. Your availability, your need for orders, your schedule. Even if you don't say it directly, customers can feel that energy. They that's when you hesitate to hit send. You know, news flash shocker. Customers don't wake up thinking about you. What do they do? They wake up thinking about the deadlines, the stress in their daily job, and the things that they don't want to screw up. When outreach connects to that, it stops feeling like a pitch and starts feeling like a help. At home apparel decorators have the advantage that most people don't. You understand timing. You know when spring sports starts. You know when fundraisers happen. You know when reorders get rushed. And that awareness is really, really valuable. When you lead with their problem instead of yourself, that outrange or that outreach really does change completely. So, some examples. The coach ignores a checking in message, but replies instantly when you mention rosters need to be locked in soon and offer to hold them a production spot. Okay, we got it. A business owner responds when you remind them event season is coming and you already have their design set ready to go for them. So, for this one, let's just rewrite one outreach message so it starts with their timeline or risk, but nothing with you. All right? We're going to 4 and 5. Let's check back in and see what we got here for you. Chandra, hello to you. Wait long, wait wrong. Ooh, I like that one. Yeah. Wait wrong, wait long. I love that. Good morning, Debbie. Hi, Debbie. Anna, good morning to you. Hi, Debbie from Renee, and hi, Barb and Renee from back from Debbie. What's up, Chuck? Good morning to you. Yes, love this one too, Renee. The fortune is in the follow up. 100%. Morning, Chuck. Kevin, when do you contact a customer after they place a big order to see if they need anything other? Well, Kevin, for me, well, obviously it's a relationship building. So we'll at least reach out once a quarter on things. Hey, just checking in, seeing how things are going. Because they may not need anything only the once a year, but we'll always check in. We've got a few that we'll do an annual event with them, but we'll still check in with them throughout the year. Hey, how things going? What's new? Anything you have questions on, anything we can help you with. Just a check in, not trying to be salesy, just checking in to see how they're going with it. So I like to do that at least once a quarter. If it's stuff where there's more sport, like school related stuff, we'll usually do 3 stores a year. We'll do the fall store, the winter store, and the spring store. And so we'll reach out to them before that, and then we just stay front of mind with them. Hey, we know this is coming up. We know that when you have the scheduled events, you have the winter program, you have the fall fling, you have the spring carnival, you have these things. Is there anything that we can do to help? So reach out often, right? Reach out until they tell you to stop reaching out. Okay. And what do you say? We go right back into it. Tip number 4: familiarity. Familiarity, wins when pressure hits, not talent, not price. There's there's a truth that I think a lot of us want to avoid. It's when people are stressed, they do not search for the best option. They search for the safest and easiest one, the one that feels familiar, the one that feels steady. That's why that consistent outreach matters even when no one replies. People are watching long, long, long before they engage. They notice tone. They notice whether you sound calm or chaotic. When urgency hits, that familiarity, feels like relief to them. And this is where we can fool ourselves, right? Thinking, that quality alone is going to carry us on. And in reality, a lot of times it won't. If someone feels risky or unknown when the clock is ticking, they won't get an order no matter how good their work is. And, an at home apparel decorator really does win by being visible, by being steady, and being predictable before the pressure even ever shows up. So, examples of this, a teen mom says, I see you everywhere, even though she's never commented. Anybody get those? When uniforms matter, she message you first. There's a lot of people that see all your stuff and they will come around. They'll see you with it. Another example, business owner chooses you over cheaper options because you felt organized and calm all season long, right? They can see that. Yep. Hey, man, they can handle this. They're pumping out stuff all the time. They're putting out things good. They're doing this. They're doing that. All right. Feel safe. I can do this. I might pay a little more, but I know I'm going to get my stuff. So for this one, let's just choose one simple, repeatable visibility habit each week and commit to it for the next 2 months. Okay. Now, number 5, staying quiet. That often hurts the customer more than it protects you. Now, this is the part that's hard for a lot of us to own. When you stay quiet, customers don't end up neutral. They rush, they settle. They choose national vendors with horrible timelines. They end up stressed out. They end up disappointed. And then they say, and I've heard this, I wish I would have known you, dot, dot, dot. Right? If you know that you can prevent that outcome, the silence isn't humility. It's withholding help. You know, Outreach isn't, intrusion when it saves someone from a mess that they didn't see coming. You're not forcing a decision. You're just offering, an off ramp for the upcoming chaos. And if you don't offer it, somebody else will. And most times, it's usually worse, right? So, example is, a school orders too late and gets uniforms after the season starts. You know, February check-in that could have prevented that entire mess. A business prints low quality shirts again because they didn't know that you offered better options. So, for this one, let's just make a list of 5 people or groups who would genuinely benefit from hearing from you this month. And let's just reach out to them at least once this month. Okay? Excuse me. So, to recap all this, silence usually means delay, and delay is where most makers lose the sales. Customers don't remember your full offer unless you repeat it clearly and often. Outreach only feels bad when you center yourself instead of the problem. Familiarity beats talent and price when pressure hits, and staying quiet often hurts the customer more than it protects you. So if outreach has felt heavy to you, hear this clearly before we wrap it all up. You are not annoying because you follow up. You are not salesy because you repeat yourself. And you are not desperate because you remind people that you exist. The customer you work with, they do not need less communication. They just need clearer communication. They don't need fewer options. They need better options. And when you show up calmly and consistently and without apology, you are not adding any noise to them. You are actually reducing their chaos. So, the next time that you hesitate before hitting that send, just, don't ask yourself, am I bothering them? Ask yourself instead, would this make their life easier? If the answer is yes, then you already have permission to hit send. So that's it for you today. We do this every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Friday show, we're going to talk about what to say when someone says, we're just looking. So we're going to talk about that on Friday. And like I said, we do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Questions, comments, concerns in the comments before we wrap this up. Mentorship community, your call will be starting in about 36 minutes. And now that we have YouTube channel back, all the memberships for the YouTube are back online there, so you can go make sure if you did end your commitments or your memberships or anything while YouTube was down, it is back. Go verify there. It seems like it was a kind of a mix of some people, like 75, 25, 75 people, no problem. Everything picked up right where it left off. 25 did not, and those are the ones that, did the refund on the last one. So make sure to go check that out for it. Jeff has a good question. Is there such thing as a free gang sheet builder? Yes and no. Um, Everyone that we've come across has been a paid version. You've had to pay for it. Whether it's a set amount per sheet or if it is a monthly fee. The one that we're using for Gangify, since we were a beta tester for it, we actually have some pretty good things with that, and because we're helping with develop their system for it. There's a lot of times when if you can open up your network, like NADPO, we started with them, and it really helped get us where we can get things to people faster. Our goal is in the next, 1 to 3 years to be you order today by noon, it is at your door tomorrow. That's what we're doing, and that's no overnight charges, it's no rush fees, no nothing. It'll take time to build out that network there for it, because then we'll have different different printers, everybody using the same printer, everybody using the same ink, everybody using the same film, everybody using the same powder, ink profiles, everything's the same. So that's what we're working towards on that. As far as is there one that is free? I hadn't found one. And probably 3 years ago, there was one and it was trash. So, just might have to bite the bullet, Jeff. Bite the bullet. Anna, you're very welcome. And, it's great. I kept my 3-year badge. Yeah, see, everything's coming back. Everything's coming back with it. But the mentorship community, we'll work on that this month. We'll probably open that up to everybody, probably March 1st, I think, is what we're looking at that. It might be sooner, but this month is just trying to get things back in check for it. If you didn't hear the news, things that are there, Bling Anything is back in stock, 6-inch and 12-inch. We did order, when we placed our order to have our flock made for us, we have 24-inch rolls coming. Not a whole bunch. I would probably think like, under 1,000 foot of it, but we're going to test that out to see how it goes. And if you purchase this trash off of Amazon, you get what you pay for. This is horrible, horrible, horrible stuff. This is not ours. Somebody said, it's your magic flock. I'm like, no, it's not. It's trash. It is horrible, thin, sticky, slimy, gooey stuff. Don't order it off Amazon. So I guess that'll be on our stuff for 2026, is to get things on Amazon and go from there. All right, with that, we're going to wrap up today. Mentorship call. You'll start in about, like I said, half hour. So everybody else, we do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Make sure to go like, subscribe, share. That always helps. Free. Just go do that. Okay. Till next time, you guys have an amazing day. Peace, love, press on, and we'll see you then.